I'm not the only runner who gets injured. I know most of us, I would say probably 90% of us get injured. We just don't say it, especially if you're a content creator. Forget about those people. It's your own journey, it's your own body. I mean, you have to be realistic of who you are too and embrace it as well, because everybody has, their own beautiful story to tell. Mom, what's that? I'm like, Papi, those are runners, thousands of runners crossing the Verrazano Bridge to the New York City Marathon. So, oh, wow, have you run it? I'm like, no, Papi, no, because that requires a lot of time, training, dedication, but you have time. I'm Carleth Keys. I'm a former news anchor turned running content creator. It's been a quite a journey getting here. But mainly, I'm a mother of two. So it started with COVID on my running journey, and like many other content creators that in the running space. So I'm here for the fun because this is a way for me to actually enjoy my love, which is running, and also make money out of it. So yeah, I'm living the life.
So let's go back to the news anchor and journalist to start with, and when that was in your life. Talk me through about how you got to the position that you got to, and I guess kind of stepping away from that as well.
Well, that was my major back in college. I graduated in mass communication, and I was a print reporter back in Venezuela. And then I moved to the States because I fell in love with an American. It didn't turn out right later, but that was a good excuse for me to leave my country and seek an adventure. But when I started working in the US, just like any other immigrant, I mean, of course, I couldn't do what I went to college for. So I started working at a chorizo factory, chorizo. You know,
Yeah.
yes. So I ended up smelling chorizo. I went home and was like a big chorizo. Oh no, it was terrible. I did that for a year until I got my papers. And finally, a friend of mine said, "Hey, listen, they're gonna launch the first 24-hour news station in Spanish in Tampa Bay, in Florida. When do you submit your tape?" And I'm like, "I don't have a tape. I don't do TV. I'm a print journalist." He said, "Oh no, no, I help you. Let's do it. Put on something, say something in camera, and then I record you." And I'm like, "This is not gonna work." But okay, I'll do it. And then I sent the tape. Turns out they actually hired me because of that tape. So I had the format. I mean, I know journalism. I went to school, but I didn't know how to do TV. But the general manager at Bay News 9 in Espanol trusted in me, and he actually taught me how to do TV, how to speak in front of the camera. And that's how my career on TV started. And I did that for 15 years, and it took me to the mecca of the news media in New York City. And I spent my last years in the US before moving here to Madrid, working as a news anchor in New York One, which is the local 24-hour news station for New York City.
Do you remember that moment when, you had sent off that tape and they came back to you and they were interested and they thought there's actually something here? Like,
Yeah.
what was that moment like?
I'm like, oh, this is weird. How can they can just be so interested in me? Just like I never did TV. And I went to the office, it looked legit. The guy who was interviewing me looked legit. And then I'm like, that I've never done TV in my life. I'm just want to be honest with you. I'm not lying to you. I'm not scamming you. I mean, I'm just submitted the tape because my friend told me so. It's like, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Everybody start somewhere. So do you want to do this? You want to do TV? I'm like, okay, that's the only job. I'm thinking chorizo TV. And I'm like, yeah, okay, let's do this.
Yeah, it seems like quite an easy call when you put it like
Yeah.
that, doesn't it? Do you think the kind of news background that you've had and what you did then when you were in the States has kind of helped you crossing over into this content creator space?
It was hard, because and it's funny because you asked me this transition also from print media to TV. I always thought compiling everything like a whole news article into one a segment of a minute and a half. It was so hard for me to learn that, to
Yeah.
make it so concise and just keep it fast. And it's just like there's so much information we're leaving out here, but we only have 30 seconds to say it on air. Um, kind of the same with social media. So yes, I was trained to do segments for a minute and a half, 45 seconds, and then suddenly you boom, you get into Instagram. It's only 15 seconds, even less, 10 seconds. So it just becomes less and less and less of information. And when you think about it, you ask around, like most people don't even watch TV, don't watch the news anymore. So I'm thinking probably they're struggling right now. In many of my colleagues that still work in the media industry are struggling with the times because they have lost most of their audience.
Yeah, a lot of it is the kind of attention span, right?
Yeah,
I find myself doing it all the time. Like you watch the first 5 seconds of a reel and you flick off it, or you try and watch a new series on Netflix and you get 10 minutes in, you don't give it a chance, and you're just like the amount of TV shows that I've watched the first 10 minutes of is ridiculous. But I think sometimes when you're making content, that can almost get a bit frustrating, can't it? Because you're not actually making the content you necessarily always want to make. You're making the content that you know is going to do the best, which is kind of like it's a bit of a conundrum, isn't it? Being a creator.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's still a learning process for me, and it changes with times, especially because of the algorithm. And I mean, I've been doing this for the past 5 years, content creation, and the interest from the audience. And sometimes I wonder if it's the audience or the app, that makes
Yeah.
all those changes in the interest. Because there's some things that I used to work that I used to do in the past, and now they don't work anymore. Like more educational videos, for running. When you give value, those are out of the door. People are not paying attention to those anymore. They just want something quick that makes them laugh. They want to know, something colorful. Your outfit in my space, your running outfit. I mean, doesn't match. Now is
Yeah.
everything is all about if it's colorful enough or things like that. So that's the runner space nowadays.
Can that get frustrating though? Like when you want to be a bit more educational or you want to put a bit more information across there, is that a frustrating thing?
It is very frustrating, especially for my profile, because that's what I do. Is about helping runners. I'm not a coach, and I'm always very straightforward. I'm not a coach. I'm not going to train you. I'm not going to teach you how to be fast. Um, but I can help you along the way, especially if this is your first marathon or trying to reach your six star. So, like, I've done this already. So I've made many mistakes. So that's what do mostly, like, give people, my experience and how to actually make it a smoother experience when you're training for a marathon. So, but yes, so that's I'm not like get ready with me type of a creator. I've done those, and sometimes you just feel awkward
Yeah.
because that's not my
How am I
genre.
doing this?
But whenever I feel that my metrics are not hitting, the web, it's just like, okay, I have to get creative and do something
Yeah.
different. So yeah, it changes a lot every year.
When when you first started your running journey then, because, we mentioned COVID, and I know that's when everything really kicked off for you, but was running ever a thing growing up, or, like, were you a sporty kid, or, like, how did it start at all?
Well, I actually have a picture of when I was 5 years old, and I was in the track team in my
Oh, cool.
kindergarten.
Go on.
So according to my mom, I loved running and I was really fast when I was with the competition. But back then, I had a heart issue. And the doctor told her, hey, listen, maybe this is not a great idea to have her doing all these, high intensity sports. So why don't you wait until she grows older? And, my mom being a mom, she's like, you're not doing any exercise altogether. So like, you do absolutely
Forget about it, forget about it.
so yeah, I never went into sports growing up. I always kept myself in shape, going to the gym, doing only bare minimum in terms of cardio, hitting the treadmill or whatever. Back when I was working in New York, I would do only, Central Park. I don't know if you've been there, but it's humongous. I only did the reservoir, like one round, and that's it. That was, enough. And I always heard about the New York City Marathon because I cover it every year. And I remember being like a big block party, every time, it was the first weekend of November. It's like all the city went to the streets, all this, the street closures and everything. So your life stood still because the New York City Marathon was happening that weekend. And every year I will do the coverage. Every day I will do the coverage because I was the weekend anchor as well. So when I left my career to move the first time to Madrid with my husband, and I couldn't go back to work because I thought it was going to be easy now that I'm Spanish speaking professional, maybe find a similar career, a similar job here in Madrid. No, never happened. So I was a frustrated mom trying to get into the workforce. I never had any luck finding a job here in Madrid, and then suddenly my 4-year-old at the time, we were watching a documentary on TV, and he was amazed to see all the sea of people crossing the Verrazano Bridge. He's like, "Mom, what's that?" I'm like, "Papi, those are runners, thousands of runners crossing the Verrazano Bridge during the New York City Marathon." He's like, "Oh, wow, have you run it?" I'm like, "No, Papi, no, because that requires a lot of time, training, dedication, but you have time." And I'm like, yeah, unfortunately, I have time. I've been trying to to find my time in a job, and I can't. But then, it hit me hard. The fact that he told me you got time
So
was like for the first time in my life, I have time. I worked so much for so many years, and then suddenly, after having my babies, it's like I felt like so lost in my motherhood. It's like I really need to recover my identity, and I couldn't. And I found an opportunity. Suddenly, my 4-year-old gave me that. He dared me to run the New York City Marathon. And that's when I started running. That's when I started the serious running. Like I had to do all my, the mileage that I have to do every weekend. And I did it very recklessly. Like every runner that starts for the first time, I did all the wrong things. But I did it, and just so happens that that year, on 2019, that's when we went back to New York. My husband was fed up of Madrid. He was like, "Ah, let's go back." I'm like, Yes, great, let's go back." And that's when I ran the New York City Marathon that year, that same November.
it's amazing how a kid can make you feel so guilty and empowered all in
Yeah,
the same thing, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I can just it's so funny you just even saying that, and if you're watching this, you would have seen the look in the screen as well. It's like, but you can just feel that, even whether it's your kid or whether it's a relation. I remember going back from university once, um, to home where I live, in South Wales, and my little niece saying to me, "Oh, Ben, you've got a bit fatter," and I'm like, "Oh wow," you're like, "Okay, yeah,
That's why I started running.
yeah, yeah, like, thanks for that. Appreciate it." Um, what was it like going back then and running, after that whole journey of the move, and then, getting the inspiration from
It
from
was
your little one?
amazing.
I
It
bet
was
it was
amazing
insane.
because the running vibe was completely different. In Madrid, I was doing all my training, but all by myself. I never felt that there was a running community happening in Madrid. Now I see it, but back then there was
Yeah.
nothing, that you can actually go to a run club, and unless it's very exclusive, like I don't know, it's not. It wasn't very welcoming. When I got to New York and I saw there were so many running clubs. Everybody was floating the routes in Central Park, and everybody was so welcoming. It was like, "Hey, you're a runner, then you're my best friend from now on." They took it very seriously. And now I had suddenly somebody who didn't know, nobody here in Madrid. No, it was Miss Popular, with all the runners in the park. And it was amazing. It just like, it went so smoothly. And once I crossed the finish line, um, I wanna do it again. I wanna
Yeah.
do it again. That sense of accomplishment, and it got very addictive very quick. And
Did you wanna do it again straight away? Because normally it takes a little bit, or was it straight away like,
no, it
"I
was
wanna do
straight
this"?
away because I felt like I've been training for the whole year since forever, and then it is all gone. In my case, that time was 3:45, and in 3 hours, 45 minutes, it was all gone. And now what? And then you enter into the marathon blues mode. And then you start going crazy because now you lack purpose. You need that purpose again. And that purpose again is to sign up for another marathon. And this is one of the things I always, talk about, with my audience, with my followers. and my community now that I have Carleth Run Club. But it's something that it comes up every time there's they cross the finish line, especially the newbies. It's like, oh, I feel so bad. It's like this is the marathon blues. You feel the need of feeling that void again.
What was training like? Because I would imagine it was very different training in Spain, in Madrid, and then training in New York. That's almost a totally different experience, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
because I didn't have a coach or anything here in Madrid the first time we were here. And when I started running, I didn't have a coach. I had a plan print out, and I knew that I was supposed to do those workouts. Sometimes I didn't understand. We didn't have ChatGPT back then. So I had to actually look it up on Google. So like, what does this mean? What does tempo mean or fartlek mean? Or, you just like, and I had to run so many times, and even though I felt like probably my legs couldn't do it that day, I still forced myself to do it. Of course, accelerating the injury process. But I didn't know that. I didn't know that I was allowed to stop during a run. I didn't know I was allowed to, take it easy one day just because my body didn't fully recover. I didn't know so many things, and I made so many mistakes. But here I am, 6 years later.
That's such an interesting word as well, isn't it, when it comes to running and training and whether you're following a plan or not, the word allowed. It's like we put this pressure on ourselves that you have to do every run in a certain way to have executed it and to say you've actually done it, where really it honestly doesn't matter. You're allowed to do whatever you want, really, aren't you? It just depends on what your goals are.
Yeah. I mean, zone two, I didn't know what zone two was. I was doing all my runs at 8 minutes a mile because I thought I was supposed to do that because that's the
Yeah.
time I wanted to hit in my marathon. I was killing myself running 18 miles at 8 minutes a mile. It's like, is this normal? Okay, maybe it's normal. And I continued doing it. I was forcing myself. It's ridiculous. I mean, I didn't have anybody to tell me that. And then once I went to New York, I had a group of people who I discussed these things with. I knew for the first time what gels, you were supposed to take gels. And they're like, girl, you're not training with gels. You have to start training with gels like about now. I'm like, oh, what is that? So I had to go and try each one of them. It's just like, so many things. So it's just like, I don't know. I found the experience a lot more helpful being in New York.
What do you think the person that was, running the lap of Central Park and was covering the New York Marathon every year, but never thought she'd run it? What do you think she would have said if you said to her in a few years' time you're going to be doing that?
Oh, first of all, that was never like an option back then for me. Like I never saw myself running. It's like I remember the news station I worked for back then. They had a team. They had the Time Warner Cable team. I was like, who wants to sign up? Because they had a bib and everything, to participate in. And I'm like, oh, people are crazy. So go figure. Go figure what motherhood makes you do. Like run from your
Yeah.
house.
And here you are, and here you are. It's all it took was a 4-year-old to make you feel guilty.
Yeah.
I know, you're obviously super proud of your kids, and do you think becoming a mum changed you, obviously, in an enormous amount of ways, I would imagine, but did it change you in the fact of, like, believing that you could do these sorts of things? You could do hard things? Like, what was it that changed?
Yeah, pain. Once you know pain, being a mother and delivering a baby, and I did that twice, and then you think, "Oh, my knees are, hurting. I've done worse." So that's why that threshold of pain, we already, yeah, forget about that. So for us women, I guess, especially moms, we know pain. So yeah, that can be a very reckless characteristic of us. But yeah, I mean, if you can tolerate multitasking and trying to fit in, your work and your family life and feeding a baby and nursing him, and I mean, you can do everything really. You can actually fit in a marathon training in between. So yeah, we can
Is it
do it.
is it about is it about showing them that they can too as well?
Of course. Yeah. And I've seen this as a pattern. I mean, I've seen women that, especially in elite women athletes that after becoming a mom, they kind of show this strength afterwards, and they have a really strong comeback after motherhood.
Yeah, it's I think there's so many role models in the sport now, whether it be, like you say, in that sort of elite, I'm going to say shorter distance field. And that doesn't make any sense when we're going to talk up to the marathon. But then when you look at sort of the ultra space as well,
Mhm.
there's that line actually in ultra running where the male and female times kind of cross, and
Yeah,
it becomes like the females in this distance plus are actually performing better than the males. And that's been something that's only really started to get studied and discovered over the past few years, but
yeah.
it is amazing to see.
That's one of the posts I actually did that. Every Wednesday I try to do like one of these educational carousels where I do slides, and that's one of the topics. It's like the difference between male and women. And there was me researching and then reading a lot of news articles about it. It's just like it tends maybe this has been all along, but now we're seeing more because more women are getting into the sport of long distance, and they're demonstrating that women actually do better for long distance races than men in that respect because
Yeah.
have this endurance that is very unmatchable.
It's genuinely unbelievable, and there's some women in the sort of the ultra distance space, your 200-mile pluses that are doing things that are genuinely inconceivable. And when you read them on paper, and I love those achievements, when you read those things on paper and you're like, is that real? Like, you actually sometimes have to double check. You're like,
Mhm.
that is unbelievable. And not just because it's a woman doing it or a man doing it, just because of the achievement in general is just one of those things that you're like, I
I mean,
can't believe a
that's
human being can
absurd.
do that. Yeah,
Yeah. So
it's genuinely insane. Um, where do we go from here then? Because obviously we're actually still relatively new in our running journey when it
mhm.
comes to like looking at the actual time that you've been doing it. What are the goals and what are the things that you look forward to?
Well, I don't know if you know, but went through knee surgery. So I promised myself that I'm gonna take it easy because I was running too hard, too intense, too soon, too fast, and yeah. So I put myself in this situation, me, myself, and I, and I'm trying to correct it. So I just needed I wanted that 1 star. That's why I went ahead and ran Tokyo after my knee surgery, but I promised my knee that I was going to take it easy for the rest of the year. So hopefully I'm still running, but I'm not doing all this distance with any purpose at all. It's just I'm doing it because I feel like today I want to go for a run. But I'm doing more gym, strength training, trying other cross training, trying to fall in love with other sports um, to kind of take me, away from the sport of running because I was obsessed and I'm still am. But, I'm like, with the hope that I'm going to go back to training again like I was before. So hopefully next year I'm going to start training for, I want to, finish this cycle, the Sydney Marathon. I'm gonna be in New York City. I always go to New York City for the marathon to cheer on my friends. But next year, the one race I have is just Sydney, so I still have plenty of time from me to start training.
I wanted to touch on the knee, and I'm happy that you brought it up because that must have felt when you realized that, when that surgery had to happen. What was that like internally? Because you've built this whole following based on your running, and now you kind of have to do this thing. Was
Yeah,
that a scary process? I bet it was terrifying.
it was it was terrifying because I had to stop. I mean, you can't tell a runner to stop.
Yeah,
A runner runs.
yeah.
So the thought of stopping, it was really, terrorizing for me. And but I knew I had to do it, so we did it. And then I saw myself in crutches, in a wheelchair, and I still wanted to go. It's like I want to accelerate this process because I'm getting tired of being, in crutches. But I wasn't doing myself a favor. I really needed to respect the healing process, to let it go, to let it sit, to let it recover on its own. Um, so mentally, I was very stressed because I wasn't hitting the times. I put myself the deadline of the Tokyo Marathon. I think it was 10 months from surgery day, So I saw the time passing by. It's like, I need to start running. I need to start training. So I put this unnecessary pressure on myself, and I made things worse. So I learned a lot from that experience. Also, funny you mentioned, I'm trying to be very transparent about my journey as a runner, and I'm not the only runner who gets injured. I know most of us, I would say probably 90% of us get injured. We just don't say it, especially if you're a content creator. Most of these guys don't ever talk about injuries, or, that they have to sit it for a while, they have to go through some sort of a procedure. Hardly ever people talk about it, and I decided to do it because, this is real life. And I realized that most people in my audience, they kind of rejected it, because it's funny how, people are, they just follow you for one thing. If you're not running or being happy, or racing, why would I follow you? So I felt a lot of rejection from my audience, and others just stayed because they were very loyal, friends that you made on internet for years and years. But I did feel that rejection, and also from brands, from brand deals. So yeah, I feel it was a very lonely process. But
Yeah.
now I'm here. So it was a tough year for me, but yeah, you
I
learn
think
from
it's yeah, and to be honest, like I don't think anybody that is hearing your story and hearing you talk about it, like, can see it as anything but admirable. Like,
it. Oh, thank you.
talking about the journey and talking about, you know, how it made you feel, both internally, physically, I'm sure, but mentally as well. Everybody that is quote unquote a runner knows how difficult, and you're right in saying everybody gets injured. Everybody knows how difficult it is when you take that thing away that makes your day infinitely different, right? Whether you're sharing your journey or you're not sharing the journey, whether you're working a 9 to 5 or you've got 5 kids or whatever's happening, if that is the thing that you do to make yourself feel better, taking that away, whatever the reason, is difficult. So I think for people to judge you on the internet
Mm,
is, I mean, it says more about the people that are doing the judging than the person that's getting judged, for sure, doesn't it? Like, I think that's the thing that you kind of have to take away from something like that. But it doesn't make it feel any easier in the moment. I think, like, now, probably reflecting back on it, you can probably see the wood from the trees a little bit. But when you're in it, it's horrible, isn't it?
yeah, and sometimes I just feel like, if knowing what I know now, would have been so transparent about it and open about it, and I still don't know the answer. I would say, because
Okay.
I'm thinking probably not. I'm not gonna be so open, knowing what I know now, because I really felt very, very lonely at one point. Um, but I don't know. I just, like, I feel like people really, either you like it or not, you need to see it. This is what happens when you overdo it, when you don't really take care of you don't listen to your body. They're screaming at you, saying, "Hey, listen, you have to stop." Yeah, it's cool to be running back to back marathons, but not everybody can do it. And that's what I see it in the running space. You see, these creators running back and back and back. These are very exceptional people. And the rest of the, people who are watching them doing it is like, oh, I can do that too. Yeah, there's a lot of things that you need to take in consideration before you start doing it as well. I mean, you can it can go wrong, completely wrong for
Yeah.
you.
And I think that's so important. And actually, this is something we're seeing now because there was that boom in COVID, wasn't there? Like, of people starting to run. And I think it's kind of like a double-edged sword, the popularity of running, because it's amazing because we're seeing this space grow and become more profitable, and people racing every weekend, and people just enjoying going out with their friends and stuff like that as well. But we're also seeing people that are getting injured now
Mhm,
because they did the wrong things to start with, and we've all done the wrong things. But I
mhm,
think at the moment, because of the way it is publicized, and because of the way a lot of people share their journeys and aren't authentic like you are, it becomes a much bigger problem. So it's like, I
mhm,
think I've said this on the podcast before, like, for me, authenticity always wins. And I think for the majority of people, authenticity wins. But you're always going to have that small portion of an audience that push back and just think, oh, I if this person changes, I don't want to be associated with them anymore.
Yes. Yeah.
Which is, yeah, it's a real strange thing to get your head around, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's what happened to me.
Yeah. How
So,
how do you look back at it now? Like you said, you don't know whether you'd be honest, but um, is that because of the experience you've had over the last 10 months, or is that
yeah.
because maybe you would have just liked to keep it a bit more personal to you?
No, I was ready to keep it open because I was knowing about it as I was going along. I mean, I've never been into, never had any surgery before. And I was documenting every step of the way from the diagnosis. I even opened a series on YouTube and I was documenting every recovery, week by week. And I called it Road to Tokyo, and it was raw. I mean, I was showing, like, people are not used to see me crying and stuff, I mean, I'm an exennial, so like,
Yeah.
we don't really show emotions like that so raw. We're also like, I mean, tough it up. And I was down, and it was for me, it was very traumatizing, the whole experience. And I put it out there, and for people to know, what to expect if you're going through the same kind of surgery or the same experience of being injured. Um, and to me, yes, it was very special. It was a diary. Now going back, when I see those videos, I was like, wow. Like, I mean, it takes me back to that pain, and it's really hard to watch. Even my very best friends, they're like, Carlette, I know you want me to watch this, but I don't want to see you suffering. So it was hard for them to watch as well. Um, but again, it's just like, what should I do now? Should I sugarcoat everything that happens to me? It's just like, it puts a lot of things in perspective because I felt left out, I feel ignored. I feel like, people turn their backs to me, and, it's just like, I don't know. Now I think twice about doing something like that again. I don't want to be hurt again.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to your journalistic background as well, doesn't it? Because at heart, you're probably a storyteller. So like all you were doing by doing that is telling the story, is kind of letting people know where you were and what was actually happening in your life. And then when your story gets rejected, it almost feels like your whole life is being rejected. And it's like y- you don't you don't think that, these people are only seeing you for a moment on the screen. You're
Yeah.
actually thinking like they know me, they're rejecting me. And I think that obviously becomes very difficult.
Yeah. I guess I was discussing this with a friend of mine. He was like, you know what? It's just like, human beings are like that. They just want something, instant gratification of something. And that's probably this, they just turn their phones, and they want to be sold the idea of the American dream, call it that way, or, like, a successful runner. And if you're not giving them that gratification, I mean, probably that's what happened. I actually talked about this recently to a group of professionals here in Madrid. They invite every Tuesday, no, first Tuesday of every month or something, like a professional to talk about their occupations because they want to, they're interested or curious to know about what other people do. So
Yeah.
they invited me, and these are people that are not on social media, and they're like, how, what do you do and why? And so it was interesting having this feedback with people that don't really interact with these apps, and they gave me a lot of insights. It's just like, it's so psychological, really. It's just like how people look for gratification in on their phones. And now kind of get it, why people felt that they needed to reject the image of me going through some traumatizing experience.
Because to them, you're superwoman on your phone. You're not on their phone. You're not a normal person, I think. And I think sometimes when you see the person that that's on there every day doing the thing, then being honest and being the person that they actually are, people sometimes reject that, and it's a very strange thing, isn't it? And then it takes a lot for you to accept, because it's like I'm going from somebody that's getting these metrics and has these brands to, maybe people turning their back on you for you just being you. And yeah, I mean, for me, for what it's worth, like I always think that being authentic is the winner. And even if in the short term it feels like it's not, I think in the long term
And
it will be.
we're lacking authenticity more and more
Yeah.
these days,
But that's
especially
just in life, isn't it? That's just in general. Like I feel like authenticity is, I mean, even in friendships and stuff, like you don't, it's very different to have, it's very difficult to have an authentic friendship that it's not a, oh, right, we're friends because of this.
yeah. But you can always have a good runner friend, though.
You can. You
You can count on a
you
runner
can.
friend to be your friend, no matter if you know him or not. But no, man, I gotta give it to you. I just like I've met so many amazing people through the app, through Instagram, that probably I will never ever meet in person. But
Yeah.
these are people that I trust, and we built a relationship over the years. And running gave that to me. And some of the people that I do know personally, I met them through the app, and they're my best friends forever. And you have the downside, but also you have the upside of
Yeah.
making great connections with like-minded people. And I will be forever grateful for that experience.
And that, yeah, like you say, it's that seesaw, isn't it? Of yes, you've got the people that maybe outweigh, or they outweigh in terms of the feeling sometimes, but actually when you look at it, you think the people that the relationships I've made and the
Mm.
things that the connections I have because of it are actually so special. Um, Obviously that happened, but you did get to the Tokyo start line. What was that like? This kind of discounting the knee and what happened after that, getting to the line must have felt unbelievable.
Yes, I mean, immediately the adrenaline rush it took over. Like, forget about recovery, forget about the knee. Suddenly, I just found my rhythm completely. It was like back, like I've never left, and it was such an amazing feeling for the first 30 miles. Um, then afterwards, I started walking because I just couldn't take it anymore, and the problems were in the knees. It was the rest of my muscles because obviously I didn't train properly for that distance. I didn't do all the long runs. I mean, the longest run I did during my training was 10 miles. And because I didn't want to overwork my legs leading up to the race, I wanted to make sure that my legs were working properly at the start line. So yeah, so I started walking, and of course, after I crossed the finish line, I was in royal pain, but amazingly enough, the knees, I mean, they held up pretty well. Like, it was just my muscles. I had, yeah, a lot of muscle aches everywhere. So yeah, it was a great experience. I did the right thing by actually, taking the chance because it was very hard to get in. Like, I don't get these beeps for free or for, as an influencer or anything. I just apply lottery charity like everybody else. And I mean, it took me probably 3 years to get into this race, and I couldn't defer it. I talked to them, and they're like, no, we're not gonna defer your entry. So I had to do it. And I got my star, my 6 star.
How was that? Because it's not just finishing one race at that point, is it? It's finishing the whole thing.
Oh my god, it was painful. It was the most painful medal ever. But I was so happy and I was so done. I'm like, no, I'm done. This was crazy. Like, what I did was crazy. But yeah, so I went home with my medal, which was the goal, and but yeah, it was time to rest.
And all from your kid looking at you saying, "I think you need to do that, mum."
Yeah. And, right now he's 11 now. He just turned 11, and I think he regrets the moment he actually decided to run my first marathon because he's like, as he was growing older, he saw me running. He's like, "Mom, you run and run, and you don't go anywhere. Like, you're always here. Like, you run and then you come back." It's like, to him, it just didn't make sense that I was running, not going nowhere. And he's like, I mean, why don't you, and you don't get paid for this? And that's when, wait, that's when I started working with brands. Because being a journalist back then, saying, influencer, like, I wouldn't go to my school, my kids' school, and talk to the parents and like, "Remember, I'm a cardiologist, I'm a teacher, I'm a doctor, I'm like, I'm an influencer." It's like, It just doesn't sit well,
It's a
you know?
funny word, isn't it? It's a
Yeah.
funny word.
I
It's
always say something like video producer, I always
yeah.
come up with these crazy, terms.
Yeah, I still think, in a lot of the ways you tell stories, right? And like we just talked about, journalists tell stories. That's what I'm a trained journalist as well. So like that's whatever facet of work I get into, I always kind of come back, I think, to that storytelling element. I think this is a really nice place to finish because I did want to ask you about, you know, we've touched on a lot in terms of your journey when it
Mhm.
came to the injury and the months following that injury. When all that was going on, was there a moment that you thought to yourself, I just wish I could say something to the people that are judging me in this situation? Is there something that you would have said to them if you could?
No, what I always say, just like, look at me. I mean, it can happen to you if you don't do the right thing. It's okay to stop. It's okay to run slow. It's okay to many things that runners take so seriously. And I mean, don't look at the one next to you or the one on the app on Instagram or TikTok. They're running and crazy times. Forget about those people. It's your own journey. It's your own body. I mean, so you have to follow your own gut when you're training for a marathon or running. You don't have to force yourself trying to be that person that you're seeing on the app. And I think it's very important. I think if people are more clear about that, differentiate, between, this creator who is doing these amazing things with amazing times, in amazing places. I mean, you have to be realistic of who you are too and embrace it as well because everybody has, their own beautiful story to tell. And you don't have to be necessarily a superhero, super runner, a hybrid athlete like everybody else seems to be nowadays. I mean, it's okay to take a rest, take a break, and give yourself some grace. I mean, look at you, where you were 2 years ago and now. I mean, that's what you need to look at. That's the person you need to compare yourself to, yourself in the past.